Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of the Cloverfield Paradox. This is my first ever Netflix review, so I was watching the Super Bowl a little bit earlier today, and I saw that trailer that so many of us saw, and lo and behold, the Cloverfield Paradox suddenly was being released to Netflix tonight. So I needed to see it. I obviously loved 10 Cloverfield Lane. I enjoyed Cloverfield itself. So I signed up. I didn't have Netflix until tonight. Signed up for my free month trial so that I could watch and bring said review to you all. So was it worth it? That's the big question. Was this the film we all were hoping for? Unfortunately, no. I quickly saw why Paramount wanted to get Netflix on the hook for a good portion of the budget and then release this onto Netflix itself, because I think their marketing strategy was top notch, like spectacular. And I think doing it and unfolding the marketing and the film itself out the way they did is going to result in much better results than if they had really pushed this out to theaters. It might have had a nice opening weekend, but I think interest would have waned pretty quickly. So speaking on the positives of the film, all of the acting is great. We actually have a really strong ensemble for the film, and everybody brings what they have to the table. Mbatha-Raw is such an underrated actress, and she's really good here. She really feels genuine and real the entire film. She does scared very well, but it never feels unnatural with her. She's just such an effortlessly good actress, and she's that here as well. David Oyelowo was really good as well, like he always is. Wasn't given all that much to do, but strong. Daniel Bruhl was good. Just everybody in the film actually was solid. And especially early on, we've got some really nice horror sequences that come through. Some really great, like, tension building, atmosphere inducing horror that takes place. It dies off as we move on through the film, and it becomes less of this, like, awesome horror film. But when it is on and it is introducing those elements, it's very strong. And speaking on that cast, I love that they had the opportunity to make this a diverse cast and have it make sense and feel organic, and they took said opportunity, and it was just nice to see a diverse cast, including one of the cast members that speaks in her native language. She doesn't speak English even. She understands it, they understand Mandarin, and it all just flows together well. Then we get into middle ground that's not really a positive or a negative for me, and that's really the paradox that we see there in the title. I'm gonna admit it, I'm not a huge fan of these like time travel, dimensional type of space films, and we've gotten several now over the last several years. I didn't like when Interstellar went down that rabbit hole after it started so amazingly. I didn't like when Arrival started messing around with that too much. And this film, it doesn't go as far as those two when it comes to the storytelling. Whether or not they're founded in some sort of science is up to you, I guess. But those films take it an extra step. This one just says we're in a whole different dimension. And that's easier to kind of just streamline follow than what past films have brought to the table. It was just a more clear cut, here's what we're dealing with type situation. But I didn't really like cutting from the spaceship and where they are in the paradox to planet Earth and where that's taking place within the Cloverfield saga, if you will. And jumping back and forth was really a disjoint to me, and one that I don't know was necessary. One that has an okay payoff at the end. It didn't take the film down for me necessarily, but it didn't add to it all that much either. And then the visual effects waned in and out of good to horrible. Some of the effects I did think actually were very solid, and I thought looked very good. And then others, in particular anything that had to do with space outside of the ship, looked very green screen. When we could see out of those little windows and such, I mean, never was it believable or convincing. And for that matter, the spaceship in and of itself felt like a soundstage. It all felt very small, very closed in. Didn't ever feel like we were actually on this space vessel. So the production design was weak. And couple that with the hit or miss effects, I think we see why this wasn't meant for the big screen necessarily. Now on to the pure negatives. First of all, I was not a fan of this score. Every now and then the score would do something well, but it felt very, hokey and felt very, almost jokey in its essence. And it was over the top and it was distracting to me, actually. It actually was pulling me out of the moment because I was like, oh, what is this weird, da-da-da-da-dun-dun-dun, score that is not working at all. And then maybe this ties into the paradox itself, but so much of this just didn't make sense. That's the problem when we go into these things, is we start unveiling and unleashing things that just don't make sense. Pretty much everything that takes place in the other dimension is completely nonsensical. Things are just happening for no apparent reason. We're not given a reason on why they're taking place. We're not given reasoning on how it ever happened. People start getting sucked into walls, and it's never answered how that happens, or why that happens, or what did it. Things just randomly pop up in people's bodies. Someone is literally found trapped, but not only is this person trapped within the walls, they literally have things trapped within their body, and it's just oh, okay. That one didn't bother me as much, but then later we have a tool trapped inside of someone's body, and it's what? So rules just never are explained. We never know why or how or if any of this is even supposed to be possible, which is saying something in a movie that, has giant Cloverfield monsters roaming around planet Earth. But the fact that we just had all of these things that could just happen at random and out of the clear blue was a big disappointment for me. Can we at least establish something that's happening and not just randomly throw in new crazy stuff? We also don't get any character development. Gugu Mbatha-Raw is the only one who gets any sort of backstory or motivation or, connection to planet Earth. The rest of them, we don't care. Okay, that's cool. You're gonna die, but I don't have any reason really to root for you not to die. And then within that, the movie also brings up points of what's happening on Earth. And it brings up the emotional dilemma of killing few people to save a lot of people. And is it right? Is it wrong? Is going back home the right thing to do? But it just kind of brushes that in there. It doesn't take the time to develop it. It doesn't take the time to really explore it or understand it. It just kind of sprinkles that on the top here to give a little bit of shading to what otherwise seems very black and white. So overall, the Cloverfield Paradox was interesting in its concept and the bare bones of it all, but it just fails on the execution. The script is just not strong enough to put all of these ideas together and find a way to link it back in, especially to that first Cloverfield film, which is the one it certainly has bigger ties to. I think this is definitely the weakest of the 3 Cloverfield films, and unsurprisingly enough, 10 Cloverfield Lane, I think, still is far and away the best. The one that doesn't actually feel like it goes with these other 2 until the very end. The one that feels much more along the lines of just a straight-up thriller, which is fantastic. But this one is definitely a step down, not only from 10 Cloverfield Lane, but doesn't come close to reaching the success of the original either. So if you didn't like Life from last year, you certainly won't like the Cloverfield Paradox. But I guess the advantage is, if you already have a Netflix subscription, it won't cost you anything to at least see if you'd like it. But ultimately, it's great ideas, a cool concept brought to the table, and then just pasted together in a nonsensical script that fails to live up to the potential that originally was brought. So I would say give it a watch on Netflix. And we should all be thankful that this did not get released into the theaters, so we didn't waste our money seeing it in said theaters opening weekend. So, that is my review of the Cloverfield Paradox. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below, and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see the Cloverfield Paradox? If you've already watched it, if you rushed right after the Super Bowl like I did, what did you think of the film? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!